Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, Alan, folks, and family. It is Sunday morning, 11 a.m. That means story time. Today, joining me in story time is Sister Salvy Ahsan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
All right, mashallah, folks. Today we have something very special in store for our audience today. As many of you, most of you should know, and if those of you in elementary and middle and high school don't know, guess what? School's about to open up. Yup, all good things come to an end, folks. Summer will come to a screeching halt, and it's that time of the year to get the supplies ready, etc., and get ready for school. Today we have a treat for all of you who are getting ready to go back to school. Today we are going to go over a book called Planet Omar. Planet Omar is a series of books based out of the United Kingdom. It takes us through the life of a young child by the name of Omar. Today's story is based around Omar moving to a new neighborhood. So for anyone who's watching, if you move to a new city, that means you start at a new school. Sometimes when you move from elementary to middle school, you experience going into a new school. Whatever the reason may be, whenever we are surrounded or faced with a new setting, whether that be a new school, whether it be a new neighborhood, whether it be being a part of a new masjid, a new family, there are always challenges that we face with new settings. Now, this year, for I think majority of us, assuming that everyone in our viewership goes with Allen ISD, most of y'all going to be dealing with the new setting of homeschooling, right? Homeschooling or home learning or whatever you want to call it. What do you actually call it? For that, we have Sister Salvy, inshallah, at the tail end of today's session. Sister Salvy is going to share with us tips and resources about homeschooling, home learning, inshallah, how to overcome the challenges. We're gonna get some tips and tricks from how to mentally deal with it from Mr. Omar, little Omar. But so this story time is dedicated to talking about how to get used to our new settings, how to mentally, emotionally, and I guess spiritually as well, prepare for the new school year, right? We start everything with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is something that we know. This is something that we learn. This is something that we are taught. And guess what? Every single prayer, what do we say? Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. We worship you, O Allah, and we seek help from you and only you, right? And part of seeking that help is to begin with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So folks, as people are joining in, we're going to get started. Now, just a programming note for our viewers. Hold on, let me put up these banners right now. Okay. So we are starting a new school year story time, okay, with myself and Sister Salvy. As I mentioned, we're going to go over a book called Planet Omar. Planet Omar or Planet Omar, right? Accidental Trouble Magnet. This is a storybook that we are going to spread out over a series of 3 weeks, inshallah. Now, just a programming note that there will be no story time next Sunday. Next Sunday at this time, we are going to be rolling off our educational programs at IAA, including our Sunday school. We have a very unique program we are launching this year called Misbah. So orientation, there are some activities, some events that are involved with that are going to be happening next Sunday. So we will meet back here at 11 a.m. August 22nd, inshallah, and we're moving the story time to Saturdays and not Sunday. Okay, Sister Salvy, can you let our audience know what events we have lined up for next Saturday, as far as those of us who may be a part of our Sunday school, and for those of you who are interested, we're gonna make that plug. Oh yes,
for sure.
See that, folks? Yeah, there's always going to be a plug.
Yeah. So if you haven't registered yet, please go ahead and register. You should have received an email, and I should have the registration website memorized by now, but it's myalanmushid.com/IAA school. So if you have not registered for our Sunday school and our Misbah program or ASQ and our Quran and Nadara program, registration is still open, but spots are very limited. So this upcoming Saturday, we're going to have our orientation, and then the Sunday, we're going to actually have a drive-by where the kids will be able to meet their teachers, pick up their books, and just pick up, just kind of like a welcome, welcoming the new school year at IAA. But again, that's only for registered students. If you want to get more information regarding all the programs, just please go ahead and visit the website. You can visit and on Facebook and in emails, all the details are out there. Inshallah.
All right, and we'll throw out the link in the comment section for you, inshallah. So if you can send me the link, Sister Salvy, and then I'll post it on both of our mediums, inshallah, both of our social media platforms. So without further ado, while Sister Salvy takes care of that, we're gonna let her rest. She'll be back, inshallah, on the tail end to go over tips and tricks. We are gonna get started, folks, with Planet Omar. Planet Omar, accidental trouble magnet. Now listen, I'm just going to say Omar. I'm not going to say Omar every single time. I'm going to save up my ains for Isha today. See, get it? So let us get started. Folks, I read this book. This book is hilarious. It's a series of books. They're based out of the United Kingdom. So some of the cities in there are very British, okay? Some of the words will be a little British, not too heavy, but inshallah, nonetheless, we can handle that. So I begin this storybook. I begin reading this storybook with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and with the intention that inshallah, we all are inspired by the message that the author is trying to portray to us through the character of Omar. Planet Omar, Accidental Trouble Magnet by Zainab Mian, illustrated by Nasaya Mufaridik. Okay. All right. So the main character in this book is me. Okay. My name is Omar. This is my face. I have a huge imagination. I hate carrots. I once raced against my dad's car on my bike and won. Wow. Omar's pretty ambitious kid. All right. Now, who's next in this story? Isa. Don't be fooled by this 3-year-old's innocent face. He can scream and cry louder than an ambulance siren. Bits of food can always be found in his hair. Plays with my stuff and makes it all sticky. I love him, but don't tell anybody. All right. Maryam, 13, but she thinks she's 16. Knows 28 surahs of the Quran by heart. Was once caught hiding a stash of peanut butter cups under her pillow. Loves to tease me even more than she loves peanut butter cups. Oh, yeah, I think some of us may have that annoying older sister. There's always some type of annoyance in siblings, right? I wouldn't know. I'm the only child, but I got 3 boys, so I know where this is coming from. Mom, this is the 4th character in our story. Doesn't know how to say no. Oh, isn't that nice? She is a scientist, hardly ever seen without a cup of coffee in her hands. This is what she looks like without her hijab on when there are no men around who would be allowed to marry her if she didn't already have my dad. All right. So we have the mom here, always wears hijab outside, and the dad. All right. We see a little beard game going on. You see that little long sports coat. He has a beard because he's copying the greatest man who ever lived. I've never actually seen his face without it. Will never eat a beet. Also a scientist. Has poofy hair. He says it's because of his genes. Rides a motorcycle. Grandma tries to puncture the tires because she doesn't think it's safe. All right. I know a lot of grandmas and moms out there who would like to puncture the tires of their kids' motorcycles. Chapter 1. There was a big puddle of spit on my little brother's forehead. It was mine, but phew, he was sleeping. Let me tell you what happened. I had been in my bed attempting to have a good night's sleep when suddenly I was being chased through the playground by a teacher who had green slime oozing out of his ears, and slugs for fingernails. It was a dream. A bad dream, of course. When I woke up, I was extremely happy that I wasn't about to be a monster's dinner. I breathed slowly to get my heartbeat back to normal, instead of like it was on a trampoline. I remembered that my mom told me to spit towards my shoulder 3 times if I have a nightmare. That's supposed to get rid of Shaitan, who is the ugly head who causes bad dreams. I really wanted to get rid of Shaitan, so I conjured up a bucket full of spit in my mouth and shot it over my left shoulder. That'll teach him. I just hoped it would dry before the morning so nobody would know I'd spat on my little brother by accident. I put my head back on the pillow for an eighth of a second, but then I heard a really loud and annoying sound. Wah! See? Very loud and very annoying. It was Isa. I guess he'd noticed the spitball after all and wasn't impressed. Mom appeared at the door to our room in her pajamas looking all bleary-eyed. Unimpressed parent. See the picture right there? Unimpressed parent can be recognized by hand on hip and furrowed eyebrows. Can be scary, but do not run away. Yes, you don't run away from mama, okay? She said, "What's the matter, Isa?" Isa was still busy wailing, so I said, "Spitball." "Not again, Omar." Wah! I covered my head with the pillow. Then Dad came in saying that it would be nice if we could have in the week where poor Isa isn't woken up by my shenanigans. At least one night, please. I asked him what that means for the billionth time. He rolled his eyes for the billionth time. I heard my big sister Maryam growling in her room. She definitely doesn't like mornings very much. Mom said it was almost Fajr time anyway. I wondered if Allah was going to give me a reward for waking them up for Fajr. Wow. So Omar spit on his little brother, woke up the whole house, and he's talking about reward for waking up everyone for Fajr. MashaAllah, very ambitious young kid. Okay. So on this Janamaz, on this prayer rug, we have the 5 daily prayers, Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha. And most of y'all know that. Chapter 2. Now, the reason I had been having bad dreams, especially bad dreams about teachers, was because I was going to be starting at a new school. This made me feel like there were snakes in my tummy, and some of them were sneaking up and squeezing my heart. I don't like things to change. It would be so much more convenient and better for everyone if things always just stayed the same. Take my pajamas, for example. They are utterly comfortable pajamas, which have somehow molded their shape to my body and become my second skin. A weird second skin that I can take off and put on, like some kind of cool human lizard. My mom tried to throw them away and make me wear crispy pajamas that don't even have dinosaurs on them. Excuse me. That is change. It is super annoying. One big, fat, huge change had already happened to me. We had to move, which is the reason I had to start at a new school. All this happened because Mom got her dream job. When she told me, I couldn't help wondering what she meant exactly by dream job. Did it mean that adults have super boring dreams all about jobs? If that was true, I wasn't looking forward to being an adult. Because at the moment, I dream about fun stuff, like being on a roller coaster that turns into a flying pig. Sometimes they're even better than movies. Well, apart from the scary ones that make me feel really lucky when I wake up and realize they're not real. So anyway, the job that Mom must have dreamed about all the time was too far from where we lived before. So we had to move. The moving bit was very, 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 very times 100 very annoying. Because Dad said I couldn't put all of the 1,267 important things from my room in the boxes to take to the new house. He didn't exactly count my things, but he likes to say exact numbers when he's talking so he can sound smart. He said, I had to choose the ones I love most and give the rest to charity. Why didn't he understand that I love them all? But then he said he would be very proud of me if I could choose, because I would have done better than mom, who had already packed lots of what dad called boxes of hoarded goods. I like dad being proud of me, especially because it normally means for breakfast. So I choose the 56 things to I like dad being proud of me, especially because it normally means pastries for breakfast. All right. So I choose 56 things to take with me. I counted them really carefully so I could be precise when dad asked, and also make sure that nobody sneakily gave away anything without me noticing. Woohoo! Yay! The good news was that the new house was super, super cool. When we first saw it, Mariam and I ran straight into the backyard and whooped because it was at least twice the size of our old one. We planned out where we could put a soccer net and Isa's swing set, and Mariam did loads of cartwheels to prove just how massive it was. That was the first time we saw the little old lady who lives next door. She peeped over her fence and said, "Huh." And she put her nose higher in the air as if she was smelling something there that she didn't like. See that old lady right there? Huh. Looking at those little kids. Chapter 3. School was going to start on Monday. Only 2 more sleeps before I had to walk into a brand new classroom with everyone watching and a teacher who might or might not be an alien zombie. Saturday was always mosque day. My mom had decided that for the first few weeks after moving, we would visit a different mosque every Saturday and pray Dhuhr there to see what our new neighborhood was like. Dad normally works on Saturdays, so it was just me, Mariam, Isa, and mom. My mom is a very smart scientist and works out all sorts of different ways of fighting cancer for the cancer research people. But sometimes Isa's cuteness makes her lose her smartness. It's like he has big, innocent, smartness melting eyes. They don't work on me. So when Isa wanted to buy a whistle from the gas station on the way to the mosque, I knew it wasn't a good idea. But mom went right ahead and bought it for him, saying, "Because you've been such a good boy this morning," and giving him a gooey kiss on the top of his head. I knew it was gooey because she actually still kisses me like that, even though I've forbidden her to do it in front of my friends. Now, in the mosque, everyone prays together with the imam leading. It's supposed to be super quiet. Just after the prayer began, Isa decided to move from his place. I was praying in between mom and Mariam. Neither of them moved. I wasn't sure if they'd even noticed that he'd gotten up. Now, Isa is annoying sometimes, but he is my little brother, and I do worry about him. So I quickly sneaked a look behind us. He was sitting at the back with a big, cheeky grin on his face. I turned back around and I kept on praying. Then we went into ruku'. That's when your hands are on your knees. Silence from Isa. Then we went into sujood. That's when your nose and forehead are on the ground. And then the loud noise of a whistle broke through the silence, followed by Isa's voice. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then again, and then the counting. It wouldn't stop. I couldn't help myself. How could I? I burst out laughing right in the middle of the prayer. I put my hand over my mouth. I bit my tongue, and I even pinched myself really hard, but I couldn't help it. I didn't have to wonder if mom had heard. People on all floors of the mosque must have heard. When the prayer finished, mom and Mariam were a bright shade of pink. It looked as if their skin had suddenly decided to compete with Mariam's socks for pinkness. And they were looking everywhere except up at people's faces like they usually do when they greet people after prayers. Mom was motioning angrily to Isa to come to her. Luckily, a few people came and patted Isa's head, which made mom's skin return to its normal color. As we were leaving, An old lady with a walking stick and brown abaya waddled over and said, "Good counting, young man." All right. Chapter 4. So we learned so far that Isa is a rowdy kid. He's got ants in his pants, but look how nice the folks were at the masjid. They didn't come and scream at the kid or the family. So kids are kids. Young ones are young ones. Babies are babies. All right. So it's very important to be merciful towards our young one and teach them a little bit about the masjid. Chapter 4. Sunday passed pretty quickly because Sundays are science days. Dad calls them Science Sundays in one of those big booming voices, like it's the most fun you could ever have on a Sunday. Why? Because my dad's also a scientist, and I think he and my mom only had us 3 kids so they could create more scientists or something. I actually like science, so I don't mind. We always do fun things like making slime, creating fizzy eruptions, and making things go pop. There are 4 things that pretty much seem to happen on every Science Sunday. Number 1, mom wants everything done very precisely. She's obsessive about it, but pretends that she's not, because Science Sundays are supposed to be fun and not bossy. She ends up saying things like, "Just 1 millimeter more, my sweetheart, through gritted teeth, just 1 millimeter more. And are you sure you stirred that correctly, sunshine?" Dad laughs at just how strict mom gets about her preciseness. And he kisses her head and says, "That's why she's the best scientist in the world." And she kisses his hand and smiles like she's the luckiest woman in the world. Super yuck. 3, Mariam always drops important parts of the experiment on the floor. Number 4, Isa always steps on the important parts of the experiment that Mariam drops on the floor. Whoa, wow, what a Sunday, right? This is because he has ants in his pants and in his shoes and everywhere, and he can't stay still ever. That Sunday, we did tornadoes in bottles, which is so cool. You should try it sometime. You connect 2 bottles with a little pipe, and you whirl the top bottle, which makes the water go down to the bottom bottle and sends up air, making a tornado. We all set the things up together on the kitchen table. My brain was thinking about telling Mariam to pass the bottles and pipes, but my mouth hadn't caught up with my brain yet and got things muddled up. So it came out as, "Hey, pass the pipes." Mariam giggled. "Pipes? I mean the bottles and pipes." I giggled too, but I like it. Pipes. I wish it was a real word. If it was a real word, then it would just be normal and you wouldn't like it anymore, said Mariam. "That is so true," I said. Mom and Dad were bending over laughing in the corner of the kitchen. When we asked them what was so funny, they said that in the Arabic language, there is no P sound. Okay? When we read Quran, there's no P, right? So a pipe would end up being called a bibe. Get it? Bibe. Then Mariam, who was showing off Googling with her smartphone, said that actually bipes are a type of weird, disgusting snake lizard thing that look like they're inside out. Eventually, we got on with the experiment. "Oh yeah, tornado in a bottle," said Dad. Sometimes he gets really cheesy and excited, and Mariam and I look at each other and roll our eyes, but we kind of like it, really. "You can put glitter or food coloring in the bottle too to see the tornado better," said Mom. So Mariam and Isa both reached for the glitter, and Mariam dropped the bottle on the floor, sending glitter flying everywhere. "Right on schedule," said Dad with a peal of laughter. Mom hugged Mariam and kissed her, also giggling uncontrollably. I could see that Mariam wasn't taking it well. "Ugh!" She shrugged Mom off and stomped towards the stairs. Science is so lame anyway. She does extra grumpy things like that a lot at the moment. Although it's not like she's always grumpy. Sometimes she's the nice Mariam too. It's weird. Dad says it's teenage hormones. All right, chapter 5. When I woke up Monday morning, I felt like my lungs were pushing air out of me. and not taking any back in. And my stomach was a giant, heavy rock, making it impossible for me to get out of bed. Reasons: I was nervous. What if nobody likes me? What if the work is harder than at my last school, right? Whenever we start a new class, a new semester, a new year, there's nervousness. There's always a nervousness that takes over whenever we start something new. What if nobody wants to be my friend? What if the teacher is an alien? Mariam poked her head around the door and said, "Hurry up, lazy head, and stop pretending to be sick." I wasn't. I wondered how her lungs felt. She was acting pretty Mariam-like, so her lungs seemed to be normal. Then Dad appeared at the door too and gave her one of his silly looks, which made his face look like he knew a secret. He came in and tickled me and threw me over his right shoulder, then carried me downstairs and plunked me down in front of a bowl of porridge, aka oatmeal. Now, I know what you might be thinking, yuck. But actually, when you put hazelnut spread into your bowl of porridge, it tastes very yummy. What is hazelnut spread? Nutella. Though I'm only allowed 1 spoonful of hazelnut spread. I ate slowly because of the rock in my tummy. Mom said it would be okay, and the teacher would make sure I made friends. I dragged my logs up the stairs. Now, the word logs, it used to be known as legs until they got so heavy. I washed up and went to my room. There was no uniform at this school, so I was allowed to wear what I wanted. I looked for my favorite sweatshirt and finally pulled it out from the space between my bed and my bedside table. Then I looked for my favorite jeans. They were exactly where I had left them, on the floor next to the bookshelf. They had a stain on them from when Isa threw a barbecue chicken wing at me. Oh well, I put them on anyways. When I went downstairs, my mom went wild. I mean, she took one look at me and flew off the handle. She said she couldn't believe it. That's all she said, actually. She said it 5 times. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Dad said calmly, "Son, I think Allah has given you clean clothes to wear, so go put them on, please, or we'll be late." Then he heaved me onto his shoulder again, helped me take out some clothes from my dresser. I put them on as fast as humanly possible and ran down the stairs. I flew out the front door towards the car where Mom was waiting with an angry look on her face. Chapter 6. So by the way, we're only going to go over 8 chapters today. For those of you who are joining us, this is going to be spread over three readings, inshallah. Chapter 6. The thought of getting into the car made my tummy feel like there were hopping around in it, just waiting to leap up my throat. So I took a deep breath and imagined a better way to get to school on a super awesome, magnificent dragon. Now, one thing about the character Omar, his imagination is very creative and he loves imagining things. And this is something that helps him, face all of the challenges that we will see him go through. I could see him there now, just hovering beside our car, looking at me with a smile. He made me feel better about everything. The dragon bowed his head and flung open the car door for me, which made me laugh out loud. "What's so funny, Omar?" Mom asked, one hand still on the handle of the car door. But I just shook my head and buttoned my lips. My mom never really understands about how I imagine things, so there was no point explaining. I guess it's the kind of thing grown-ups forget how to do. So I just stared at the dragon's blue and green shimmery scales and long swooping tail. As I strapped myself in, I wondered what it would be like to ride him to school instead of driving. I mean, he'd fly at least at 120 miles per hour. He looked at me with his almond-shaped eyes and let out a puff of steam from his tiny nostrils. I imagined him riding alongside us all the way to school. When we got out and walked to the gate, I made him breathe out a huge plume of steam. And in my head, I said, "I pronounce the H2O," as if I was a king or something. I thought that was a good name for him because steam is made from water and H2O is the chemical name for water. That's the kind of sciencey thing my parents love to talk about. So there I was, the new kid in class. I was petrified and my lungs were still doing that funny thing. I made them feel better by imagining H2O being silly at the window. He stuck his tongue out. Then he put popcorn in each of his nostrils and blew it out. Okay. The teacher, who was called Mrs. Hutchinson, introduced me to the class. She was what my mom would call a pear-shaped person. I liked her hair from the first time I saw her, and later learned that the springy auburn curls reacted to her mood and told the story of her day. When she was happy, those curls were happy. They would bounce merrily out of her head like beams of sunshine. When she was tired, they would flop down lazily on her cheeks. And when she was angry, they looked more like the twisty metal part of a drill. Sometimes when she was angry, I would imagine a drill-headed Mrs. Hutchinson making a big hole in the wall quite easily. She asked me to sit down next to a red-headed kid called Charlie. Charlie had lots of freckles all over his face and thick-rimmed glasses. I thought he looked cool, so I smiled at him, and he smiled back at me. He was missing one of his front teeth. Charlie told me the school was okay, the lessons were okay, the playground was okay when it wasn't wet, and Miss Hutchinson's class was mostly filled with okay kids, except for Daniel. I decided that okay was Charlie's favorite word. Daniel is one of those, is the one you have to look out for, okay? Just stay out of his way. Okay, I said. I thought about all the times my mom had told me to stay away from something which seemed to make me drawn toward it like a magnet. Instead, like when I just had to open Mariam's secret box because I was told I wasn't allowed to. And when I did, a gazillion teeny tiny beads came pouring out all over her bedroom floor. Just as she walked in, I gulped. All right, chapter 7. Let's see. Chapter 7. I thought I was going to get through the day without any problems until lunchtime, that is. Daniel bounded up to Charlie and me and said, "The new kid and the weird kid sitting together. How nice." Okay. He said nice in a different way that when people normally say it. I wondered if it was sarcasm, but my sarcasm detector isn't very good. I get confused when people say things all upside down. I tried to figure out if Daniel wasn't actually as bad as Charlie had warned, and he did think it was nice that we were sitting together, or if he was being mean because it obviously wasn't very nice of him to call Charlie the weird kid. Anyway, Mom and Dad say to always think about things before blurting them out. I could feel Charlie trying to think of what to say too. He was taking air into his lungs really deeply as if he was preparing to say something and then opening his mouth and closing it again, but nothing came out. I think we were both silent for a super long time, which seemed to make Daniel very angry. He shouted, "Idiots," before walking away. When he was gone, Charlie said, "See, he is always horrible to me." "Why?" I asked. "Did you two have a fight about something?" "No, he just hates me for no reason. I think he hates the whole class, but he hates me the most." Charlie looked so sad and so small, I couldn't help putting my arm around him, which made Charlie look at me and smile his toothy smile. When Mom picked me up later, I told her all about my new friend. I saw her breathe phew. I guess she was worried about how good or not good my first day would be since I was so nervous. I also told her that I liked Miss Hutchinson and her amazing changing hair. Mom told me about her day too. It sounded like she'd had a great time at her dream job, poking at the microscopic stuff with fancy equipment. And on the way home, she'd passed a chocolate shop. So she bought some for our neighbor to say hello properly. Thankfully, she had bought one of those fancy adult chocolate boxes with lots of dark chocolates in it, which are so yuck that I didn't wish the box was for me instead, which I normally do when we have to give chocolate to other people. I thought we could pop over when we get home. "Okay," I said slowly, remembering how grumpy the neighbor had been last time I saw her. We picked up Mariam and the little human thing we call a brother. who always comes home from preschool with half his lunch on his shirt. Mom had to clean Isa up before we popped over next door because she's embarrassed to have messy kids. She even said to me, wait, let me hair your run through my fingers. What did she say? Wait, let me hair your run through my fingers. Mom says things the wrong way when she's hurrying. You mean run your fingers through his hair, said Mariam, because she likes to correct people. Yes, that, said Mom. And she marched us all over and took a deep breath and rang the doorbell. We waited. Nothing. We waited some more. Nothing. So I reached forward and rapped on the door really loud a few times. Why did you do that? Mom hissed like a quiet, angry snake. What? I shrugged. Maybe the doorbell isn't working. Well, it's rude, hissed Snake Mom. And just then, the door opened quietly and eerily, like in horror movies. There stood an old lady, quite a short one, with lots of white hair and one of those cardigans that all old ladies wear. My grandma has one. We all said hi, pretty much together, except Isa, who said, Assalamu alaikum, like he had been taught to say to our nani. The old lady was really weird because she just stood there without reacting. She didn't say hello. She just stared. Mom explained that we were the new neighbors. The old lady stared. Mom said, we've just thought we'd come over to introduce ourselves. The old lady stared. Mariam gave me a secret whack on the arm, which was meant to say, oh my God, this is so awkward. I gave her a secret whack back, which was meant to say, oh my God, OMG, I know. Then Mom asked the creepy, rude next door neighbor what her name was. Just when we thought she wouldn't say anything, she blurted out, Rogers, then slammed the door. I glanced up at Mom. She looked like one of those helium balloons that hardly has any helium left in it at all. Chapter 8. For a few mornings, as we left for school, my mom asked me if I had done my duas. My mom is absolutely obsessed with having a routine that we stick to every morning, a bit like it's one of her science experiments. My parents do their duas whenever they think of something they want to talk to Allah about. I sometimes wonder if other people see a Muslim's lips moving and think they're secretly casting a spell or just talking to themselves, when actually they're just doing one of their duas. There are duas for everything: eating, sleeping, waking up, protection, knowledge, leaving the house, coming back into the house, basically anything you can think of. I used to forget them sometimes, but now I was making sure I did them as soon as I woke up. Especially the prayer for protection, because Daniel was getting meaner every day and I felt like I needed all the help I could get. He had started to follow Charlie and me around the playground at recess. Sometimes he wouldn't say anything, but he would do lots of staring and make grunting noises as if he was having some really mean thoughts. And once he charged at us like a rhino, then he started laughing like mad because it made Charlie jump. Now, minus Daniel, school was getting to be quite all right, especially since Charlie and me were becoming super best friends. We laughed at all the same things. We even wished for all the same things, like getting an Xbox and more screen time to go with it. That was starting to make up for how much I missed my friends back at my old school. I was still a bit worried that they might be forgetting about me, but Dad said we could all get together in the summer. Mrs. Hutchinson was really nice too. Every time she saw me in the mornings or when she walked past my desk, she checked in on me and gave me a wink. Not all the lessons were fun, obviously, but whenever we did something creative, she got really enthusiastic and her curls were happy and bouncy. It made me wonder if maybe she could imagine things the way I did, or if she was just like all the other adults. One afternoon, when we were doing an art lesson about Picasso, Mrs. Hutchinson was so excited about how he made everything abstract that her curls started dancing with joy. She asked us to paint self-portraits just like his. Charlie and I were having loads of fun, giving ourselves colorful triangle noses and weird-shaped eyes when Daniel walked past our desk and sent the dirty water cup tumbling onto my painting. Oops! Clumsy me. There he was again, with the upside down talking. It definitely wasn't an oops moment. It was a, hey, let's ruin Omar's painting on purpose moment. Yeah. Charlie's mouth dropped open in surprise. And when my heart took a little dip, as if it was falling into a different and less comfy place in my chest, it seems like Charlie could tell exactly how I was feeling because he leaned in to whisper, he's just a big frog's pawn. Head. I bet you can paint a new one even better. And he gave me the biggest toothy grin I'd ever seen. I imagined what Picasso looked like. I wondered if he looked like some of his paintings, all out of shape, but happier than all the other paintings from those old days. And then I thought, hey, what if some kid had ruined Picasso's painting at school one day, which is why it came out all different and weird, and that's what made him famous. So I took my paintbrush, I grabbed it like it was alive, and like it was the first time I ever held a paintbrush, and I painted. When Mrs. Hutchinson saw my work, her curls almost rose up to the ceiling. Omar, she said, you did this? Yes, Mrs. Hutchinson. It's wow, it's brilliant. Daniel's face was red, like the beets my dad will never eat. He passed me a note. It said, watch out. When Mom came to pick me up, he stared at us both as if we were someone's old chewing gum that he had accidentally touched under the desk. Ew. I almost pointed him out to her, but then I remembered how relieved she'd been that I thought school was okay, and I kept quiet. Sometimes, though, I think my mom magically knows when somebody in her family needs cheering up, because that evening she announced she was making biryani. Biryani is my all-time favorite Pakistani food. You're not alone, Omar. It's hard to make, and Mom says scientists with full-time jobs don't have the time to make it every week like I had asked her to. Mom always opens the French doors to the patio when she's cooking, no matter how cold it is outside, because she can't stand the house smelling like food. Homes are meant to smell like nothing, she says. Not fish, not samosas, not smelly socks, not even weird artificial air fresheners. And since the door was open, I stood there with my giant bubble kit to see if I could really make a bubble bigger than me, like it said on the box. I could see our next door neighbor, the horrible Mrs. Rogers. She was outside poking around at her weeds with one wrinkly hand and holding her phone with the other. After a few minutes, we heard her say loudly, John, the Muslims are frying smelly onions again. Oh, I'm with her on this one, joked Dad. Who hates it when the smell of frying onion and garlic gets into his clothes? I know. We don't want to give her another reason not to like us, said Mom. Then she held Dad's arm like she does when she's going to tell him a really good idea. Let's send her some. She'll love it. Uh-oh. I know it gets really stinky when the biryani's cooking, but seriously, it's so yummy. It's worth it. I couldn't believe that Mom was being so nice after the way Mrs. Rogers treated us when we took her those chocolates. Why did she deserve some of our delicious dinner? And to make it worse, Mom and Dad made Mariam and me take it over to the house. She took forever to open the door as usual. And when she finally did, and we tried to give her the container, she said, spicy food? No, thank you. And she closed the door. Sheesh, said Mariam. You'd think we were trying to poison her. With poison. And we are going to park this story. I know y'all are really excited to see what happens with Daniel and with Mrs. Rogers' neighborhood. But we're going to park it over here, folks. And now we are going to invite Sister Salvy. So, folks, this story time is with the intent of getting ourselves prepared mentally, emotionally to welcome the new school year. And what that translates to many of our viewers is being in their home, which is a new setting, right? As far as school is concerned, maybe we're a little used to it, but we had the anticipation that, okay, this is going to be till the end of the semester. Next school year will be fine. And guess what? It's not fine. It's not fine. Thank you, government. So it's not fine. But we have Sister Salvy to help us navigate with tips and resources on how to kind of get by. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Salvy. Thank you for joining us this Sunday. And the floor is yours.
Walaikum assalam. That was a really amazing book. I know I had a skim of it, but like it was just so relatable. I was just laughing through the whole thing, and I think we all really want to know what happens with Mrs. Rogers. Again, this is a time, just like the emotions. I'm going to say Omar too. Omar was facing. A lot of the kids and even the parents were feeling a lot of anxiety. This is new. Some of us. A lot of people have been considering homeschooling. And then, so again, I know you touched on this earlier. So what is it? Homeschooling and distance learning. So most of us are partaking in something called distance learning, where the school is still providing, you're going to be included within, taking whatever the school's providing you and just learning, and the teacher will be providing the resources, and you're going to be basically guiding your kids to go ahead and, just help monitor them to make sure they're getting their work done. Some other parents have opted for homeschooling, which is where the parents are managing everything, the curriculum, the schedule, and everything. So yesterday I just found out, I only have a 4-year-old. So with her, she's not starting kindergarten until next year, but I am going to start kind of homeschooling her, and we kind of have been doing that. But I wanted to get an idea of how Allen ISD is working. So what I heard was that Allen ISD, and correct me if I'm wrong, the kids are basically going to be having their usual school day, but they're just going to be doing it from home, and everything's going to be online. Is that correct, Imam?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So when I heard it, I was like, oh my God. The only reason, like even with Sunday school, for example, we went because again, the kids have been in front of the screen so much and just their attention spans, but I'm sure, the schools have it under control. But just some tips for all of us. I'm going to start sharing. I'm going to go ahead and share some tips for the kids first, then, let me go ahead and share the tips for the parents first, then for the kids, and then I'll share some sample schedules.
Sure.
So let's go ahead over here. And just give me a second. All right, share my screen. Okay. Are you being able to see my screen right now?
Yep.
All right, so new to homeschooling and distance learning, tips and resources for parents and parents teaching from home. So tip number 1, know the difference between distance learning and homeschooling. This is kind of what we already discussed already. Distance learning is when you already have your, the school is providing you the curriculum, kind of like a track, and, you just need to make sure your kids are doing it. And homeschooling is where you choose your own. And by this time, I think everyone has made a decision. I know a couple of weeks ago, there was several, parents, and, I saw some posts on Facebook. People were trying to figure out if they wanted to homeschool or go with, what the schools were providing. Tip number 2, working towards independence, that can help parents. The biggest issue that I heard was like having kids of different ages. So the best way to kind of work with that is, your older kids, just having them be a little bit more independent and work on their own as well. You can guide those who are a little bit younger. Tip 3, taking virtual field trips, engaging in a lot of physical activities, breathing, and mental breaks. So especially with this whole Allen ISD schedule, I'm sure the school will be incorporating breaks in between, but if not, like definitely every 30 minutes, every 45 minutes, tell your kids to get up, go take a walk, go have a snack, things like that. I'll get into more details about each of these tips in the next slides. Let kids explore different interests. Don't sweat the clock. Consider your educational goals and approach. So a lot of, again, with the homes, people having so many different options and flexibility now, a lot of parents are even considering to de-school now, where they're just kind of letting the kids take their own, see what the kids' interests are and let them, learn life, honestly. But then I think for most of us, Desis and Muslims, we're very, very strict on education. So I don't think we're taking that too much of that laissez-faire approach. And, we're sticking with, whatever the schools are providing. And then discovering additional curriculum and learning tools, and enjoying the moment. This is very unprecedented times, and I know it sounds very cliche and it's easier said than done. Look, I have a really crazy 4-year-old, but honestly, like, what, Allah has, it's finding a hidden blessing. Just like how Omar had, his painting was messed up, but he was able to make it into like a masterpiece. So just like this moment, I don't know if we'll ever get before we were all so busy with our lives, and with a lot of us, even with quarantine, life has gotten even more busier, but we're with our families, we're able to really just make the most of it. So the first step, again, you should really coordinate with the teachers, and I think most of the teachers have already reached out to the parents with any communication. With very detailed communication. Please, parents, and for Sunday school, from the Sunday school perspective and the Misbah perspective, teachers spend a lot of time planning and things, and what we need from the parents is to make sure that they're reading that communication and then asking questions if they have questions. Build a workflow that works for your child and your family, and teachers can also give you tips on how to effectively facilitate your kids' learning. And they can help you get in touch with other parents. Set a schedule. This is key. Every single mom and parent that I've spoken with, like, what are they doing in terms of preparation? I think everyone, for the most part, will see when it happens. But setting a schedule. I know sometimes it's easier said than done. But really, and plan with your child and what works with your family. Setting up this, so those breaks that I was talking about, going ahead and setting those times for the breaks as well, giving your child options, and ask how they feel about doing things in certain ways, and give them the time to adjust to the schedule. Have a schedule, but at the same time be flexible. Again, changes happen. Even if you have lesson plans and everything, I think a lot of us is like Omar's mom, we're very OCD. We're very we like planning everything out. But as we know, life, it doesn't always work out exactly how we plan it. So we need to learn to be flexible. It's a new experience for everyone. Let's not be too hard on ourselves or our kids. Give it some time to adjust. And it's a difficult, new, and it can be frustrating, but go ahead and look at, facilitate the schedule closely, but be flexible to change it up based on your child's tendencies and just the emotional state of everyone at that time. Leaning into your child's natural interest in planning with your child. So again, going back, planning this whole process with the kids. I was speaking with Sister Nada Naveed, who is our PTO head, and I really loved I asked her what she's doing to prepare, because then she was just saying, just having her daughters have a say in how they're going to set up their workspace, what color headsets do they want. It really makes a difference. And this is again not the most conventional way of starting the school year, but you're really just getting them engaged. And then, if there's certain topics that you feel like your child is more interested in, like science or things like that, going ahead and scheduling those during times where you need to work. So not only as parents are we having to figure our kids' schooling out, we're having to, figure out how to work from home, do all your usual home chores and things like that. So if there's something that your child, and if they're older enough and they can, focus on themselves, they can go ahead and you can schedule that at times where you have to get something done. Taking breaks, again, simple advice, but never underestimate the power of breaks. Add it to your schedule and make it fun. And it can be spontaneous and flexible. Connect with other parents. This is so key. We actually went ahead and created a WhatsApp group, and I'll go ahead and send that link to Imam so he can post it in the chat. Just a support for all our IA parents who are homeschooling for the first time, distance learning for the first time. We can learn a lot from each other. So that's, and then in addition to that, just finding resources. There's so many educational resources that we have out there now. Just Google and we can use that WhatsApp group again to also share these resources. So that's in general what I have for the parents. I'm going to go ahead and share that link with Imam, so he can go ahead and post that. So please go ahead and join that WhatsApp group. And then if you have any tips and advice, please go ahead and share it on that group as well. And then, Imam, as a parent, do you have any follow-up questions or anything like that before I go into the kids aspect of things?
So the educational department in my house is the Department of Education in my house is run by mom. Okay, so I have no say and I have no input or opinion. But no, yeah, the tips that you mentioned about being able to make their workplace, their work environment comfortable. It's a little different this time because now they're actually starting along with the school day. Before it was like, the last couple of months of last semester, there wasn't that much structure. So I think the fact that now, it's been a learning process for the teachers as well. So starting live on time is definitely going to be a challenge, but I'm honestly here to learn. My kids haven't learned like this. So yeah, this is all new. But starting off the morning with du'as, I think if there's one thing that we take from the book, that as we get our kids ready in the morning, I think it's very important to instill within them, regardless of the age. And I'm sure many parents are doing this, but no namaz, no breakfast, right? Get Fajr done, get some of the du'as done, get them in the habit of this. These are things that they need to build for the rest of their lives, okay? Whether it's the mu'awwadhatain, qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq, qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas. I know we are in the confines of our home. We don't have to worry about, I think the only bullies children have to worry about are their own siblings, right? So getting into the habit of those things, I like that about the book.
Yeah, so on that note, I think I'll just actually go into one of the sample schedules first, and then we'll talk about the kids tips. Because when I talk about building the schedule, you should build your schedule around the 5 prayers. And this is advice that, even when I was in college and things like that, if you build your schedule around salah, everything else will just fall into place, no matter how busy you are, no matter what you have going on. So just even for building that foundation with the kids from early on. So since you mentioned that, I think it makes a more clear flow for us to go through the schedule first, and then we can go ahead and share some of the tips for the kids. So I'm going to start sharing my screen again. Sample schedule. So again, every family is different. Your circumstances might differ. This is just kind of like a general kind of guideline, to kind of see what might work. So, and you can adapt it to your unique family circumstances and things like that. So the first schedule that I have here is a flexible schedule for people who are homeschooling, not for the LNISD folks yet. But again, 5:45 a.m. and everyone waking up for Fajr, praying, going ahead and praying Fajr. And I know at this time, a lot of people are very groggy and things like that, but I know this is a time where a lot of parents take the time to get anything they need to get done before their kids are up. So this is the time, and after Fajr, it's a blessed time to do your dhikr and it's a very productive time, actually. Even if you're really sleepy, if you decide to stay up after Fajr and get certain things done, just your day somehow flows out really nicely. So it's a good time to do that. But again, if you're not up for it, you can go ahead and the kids can go ahead and take a post-Fajr nap. Before 9 a.m., everyone should try to wake up, get breakfast, get ready, prep for the day, 9 to 9:30. Starting off the day, again, starting it off with prayer, and then also starting off with some sort of like physical activity and exercise, because again, they're going to be sitting in front of the screen for such a long time. 9 to 10:30, have some academics time. 10:30 to 11, some creative time. 11 to 12, whatever the family wants to do. 12 to 12:30, lunch. Again, 12 to 1:30 again, some academic time. 1:30 to 2 o'clock, some chores, quiet time, independent time. 2 o'clock, again, you have dhuhr. And I just used, so I know like we're not back at the masjid for all of the 5 daily salahs, but like just following the schedule, the iqama times that the masjid has, it helps you keep it just going ahead and setting that schedule for yourself as well. And again, using 2 to 3 o'clock for more academic time until like about 4 o'clock-ish. You can use some creativity, some movement, going outside. That's also so very important. I know people have been doing that where they've been walking outside more, going in their backyards and things like that. 4 to 7 p.m. Here's, I'm going to do the plug-in again. Having your 1 hour of after-school Quran and Nadra. You can choose use 1 hour within that time frame. And again, that can also, those hours can be filled with any free choice family time, early dinner for the youngins, and then 7 to 8 p.m. dinner and bedtime for the youngins. 8:30 you have Maghrib, 9:30 Isha, 10 bedtime. And then so then we have your schedule for those who are on the Allen ISD. So I think it's going to be the same timings for elementary school. You start your day at 7:45, you end at 2:55. Middle school start at 8:28, end at 3:30. And the high school starts at 8:50 and ends at 4:10. So again, just using kind of the same concepts in between, making sure you're taking some breaks in between, going ahead and putting in times for some breathers, some creativity, some movement, going outside. So even though we talked about having like a work, it's very important to have a workspace, but at the same time, like if you feel like, you're just like falling asleep and the kids are just maybe just, taking the laptop to the backyard or something like that, and just sitting there. So, and then for Sundays, again, we want to go ahead and for Fridays and Friday evenings and Saturdays, we want to kind of use to recuperate, right? And just reconnect with our family and prepare for the rest of the week. Sundays, again, you have your Sunday school and your misbah. Same deal, start with Fajr before 10 a.m. So just like the same tips that you would use for your regular schooling, it should apply to Sunday school as well. Waking up, Sunday school day starts at 11, waking up before 10, making sure you get ready, you get dressed, prep for the day, start logging in, and, just go on about the day. We talked a little bit about preparation of spaces and things like that. So again, it's another thing I think we've been struggling with is keeping the houses clean, especially if you have like really young ones, but just setting up the area. So with Asia this year, I tried to set up her room like an actual preschool. So in preschool, they have like different centers and things like that. So you don't have to like invest in a bunch of money or like, a bunch of products. I honestly just use whatever we had at home and just organize my space with that. So she has her dramatic play corner, she has her physical activity corner, she has her tarbiyah and Quran corner, her blocks and puzzles corner, her creative corner, and her reading little nook. So, and again, I know, mashallah, in Allen, we have a lot more design savvy moms and families out there. You guys can even create, but just something very simple, just making it seem like a classroom area for them. So, and again, these, each family kind of has their own schedules, but this is kind of just like a general guideline on, how you can maybe structure your day. And I know, again, it's easier said than done, but, just having a little bit of that structure helps always.
All right. Well, Jazakallah khair, viewers and audience. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us with an amazing school year. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to remove and eliminate any challenges, nervousness, anxiety, or difficulties that we may be facing right now, with all of the uncertainty, with all of the doubt, folks. Just remember that if Allah brought you to it, He'll get you through it. And that's what it is. This is everything that we go on in our lives, folks, whether it's the young ones who are watching, whether it's the parents who are watching, everything that we go through in life has been custom tailored by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for us to go through these things for a reason. Okay. If we weren't appreciating Allen ISD or whatever school setting that our children and we were accustomed to, if we weren't appreciating that, maybe, just maybe, we can gain the appreciation for that. Okay. There are many lessons. There's more than textbook learning when it comes to homeschooling. Okay. We learn a lot about ourselves. We learn a lot about our temperament, subhanAllah. So, kids are going to be kids, and kids are always going to listen to the other lady rather than mom, rather than auntie. They're going to listen to other people more. So definitely it is a challenge, folks. I know that. I'm a father of 3 crazy kids, 3 crazy boys. I'm wearing a kurta or thobe at night, but most of the day I'm wearing a referee shirt. So trying to break up the fight. So folks, Jazakallah khair for joining us. I just want to let everyone know who's watching that the story time right now is going to resume on Saturdays instead of Sundays, since we are dedicated to the Sunday school programming at Allen on Sunday. And we are going to skip next week. So what happens to Omar? What happens to the old lady next door? If you don't want to go on Amazon and buy the book, you're just gonna have to wait for 2 weeks to find out what happened with the biryani, right? So does she smell more onions and everything else? So folks, we are definitely going to learn a little bit about that, inshallah, in the next couple of weeks. I just want to show folks the picture of this book before they head out. So this is, where is it? This is the book, Planet Omar. Y'all see that? Planet Omar, Accidental Trouble Magnet. Okay. So for all of you moms and dads with boys who may fit this description, it's a really good book. It's a very good book, wholesome, fun. So Jazakumullah khair. Thank you, Sister Salvy. Thank you, folks. Keep in mind that we have many educational programs that are a part of our Allen Masjid. And in order to be a part of that, please check in the comment section. We have a link to a homeschooling/home learning WhatsApp group, support, collaboration. We also have a link to register your children for any one of our educational programs, whether it's the weekly after school Quran program, whether it's the weekend Sunday programming for elementary, and now we have split it up. We have a separate program called Misbah for middle school and high school. This is a program that's designed to kind of take the Sunday school education and knowledge to the next level. This is going to be taught by myself and Mufti Nu'man, along with collaboration with Sister Salvy. So please, check the comment section, and thank you for joining us.